Welcome to Tokyo Wave, recorded in a live studio in Harajuku, Japan, with your hosts Aaron and Parker. Alright everyone, welcome to episode 124 of Tokyo Wave. We're your hosts, Aaron Randall
and Parker Allen. On Tokyo Wave, we bring you weekly updates from our studio in Harajuku.
Join us in segments featuring this week's top news,
political happenings,
business,
and other random garbage.
To get us started, here are this week's top news highlights.
Ex-deputy manager of Tokyo 2020 test event body set to admit role in bid rigging scandal.
Honda outlines hydrogen power plans to go green.
Geisha joined traditional bean-throwing Setsubun event at Kyoto Shrine after COVID hiatus.
This week in Japan. Alright, so our first story. Ex-deputy manager of Tokyo 2020 test event body set to admit role in bid rigging case.
The Mainichi has reported that a former deputy manager of a Tokyo 2020 organizing committee body in charge of test events for the Summer Olympic and Paralympic Games intends to admit playing a role in a bid rigging scandal.
According to sources, the former deputy manager for the Tokyo Organizing Committee of the Olympic and Paralympic Games event operating bureau has expressed to others an intention to admit involvement in the illicit coordination of bids connected with the organization of the test events.
Scandalous. The former deputy manager had denied the allegation since November 2022 when investigators raided the former official's home on suspicion of violating Japan's Anti-Monopoly Act through unfair trade restrictions. The former deputy manager is reportedly giving explanations along the lines that they cannot deny the implication of allocating winning bids on a list containing the names of companies.
Damn, they raided his home. That's pretty serious then.
Oh yeah, they raided his home, they raided all these companies, they raided everybody.
Wow.
They like to raid things.
It has already emerged that officials at advertising giant Dentsu Incorporated, which compiled the list of competitions and venues in which the company sought to take part along with the former deputy manager, admitted to bid rigging allegations when questioned by the Tokyo District Public Prosecutor's Office's Special Investigation Unit.
Those are the guys who like raids.
Yes, they are.
In 2018, the Games Organizing Committee ordered 26 projects through open bids for the planning of test events. 25 of them were won by a total of 9 companies, including Dentsu and fellow advertising giant Hakuhodo, for approximately 530 million yen, which is roughly 4.1 million USD in total. In November 2022, the Special Investigative Unit and the Japan Fair Trade Commission raided 8 of these companies and 2 others that subcontracted the work. During the raids, the Special Investigative Unit was quoted as saying, this is awesome! Raids!
Parker, what exactly is bid rigging? I'm a little confused.
So basically, it's supposed to be an open bid, and the bids are supposed to be judged by a fair and equal process. However, bid rigging is essentially, favoritism. It's bada bing, bada boom, if you pay me this here money, it might fall off the back of one of your trucks. I might make sure that you get the contract, Forget about it.
I'm not sure if this is a symptom of Japan being, hyper bureaucratic, or if Japanese people really just like gambling. I'm not sure which one this falls under, but
I think it's just a typical thing in sort of, old school corporate society where companies want to make sure that their friends, pat each other on the back and everybody gets paid, and things are, nobody tries to upset any, apple carts,
Because it'd be terrible if you did. Something very, very bad might happen to your friends and family.
Yeah, and I know your children go to that elementary school over there, so, just, you know what I'm talking about, right? You know?
All right, and up next, Honda outlines hydrogen and power plans to go green.
The Associated Press has reported that Honda is expanding the use of hydrogen to include trucks and construction equipment, and electricity for buildings, and even outer space, not just cars on the roads.
So, General Manager Tetsuya Hasebe told reporters on February 2nd that Honda Motor plans a new fuel cell vehicle for sale next year, packed with a fuel cell stack developed with General Motors.
Hasebe said that this will lower the cost of the fuel cell stack to a third of what it is now. By 2030, he said that the costs of Honda's fuel cells will become comparable with diesel engines.
The new fuel cell stack, which charges faster than previous versions, will be produced in Ohio, then rolled out to other North American and Japanese sites.
All of the world's automakers, including newcomers like Tesla, are coming up with electric vehicles and those that run on fuel cells and hybrid systems.
Fuel cells are powered by hydrogen and are emissions-free.
Hasebe, who oversees the development of the hydrogen business at Honda, said, quote, "Compared to electric batteries, fuel cells are efficient in producing energy, and so they offer a good emission-free solution."
Honda was among the pioneers in fuel cells, showing a prototype car in 1998 and its first market product in 2002, wow, over 20 years ago.
Honda plans to provide its fuel stack to JAXA, or the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, Japan's equivalent of NASA. In using hydrogen for commercial trucks, Honda is working with Japanese truck maker Isuzu Motors and has begun tests with Dongfeng Motor in China. Honda's fuel cell started providing electricity to a Honda site in the United States this month.
Honda's announcement on fuel cells underlines how Japanese automakers have for years insisted on working on various solutions to climate change, not just electric vehicles.
And I am 100% with them, because the deal is with electric vehicles, if your country is generating electricity from sustainable sources, then it's actually green. But if your country is generating the majority of its electricity from unsustainable sources, i.e. fossil fuels.
Right, which is most of the time the case, right?
Yes, and so both the United States and Japan, over 70% of their electricity is generated from fossil fuels. So, all of these people who are saying, I'm saving the environment by driving an EV are kind of not understanding the whole story.
Right.
And so if these fuel cells can do it more efficiently, that will make a huge step towards actual sustainable vehicles. And especially, thinking about trucks, especially large trucks, and other commercial applications that use massive amounts of electricity, this could be a huge development towards more sustainable energy in Japan and around the world. And up next, Geisha joined traditional bean-throwing Setsubun event at Kyoto Shrine after COVID hiatus.
The Mainichi has also reported the Setsubun Festival has begun on February 2nd at Yasaka Shrine in Kyoto's Higashiyama Ward, featuring geisha, known locally as geiko, and their maiko apprentices joining a traditional Japanese bean-throwing ceremony for the first time in 3 years.
Hooray! Beans! We missed the beans.
Yeah, my first time doing Setsubun, I was pretty shocked, but I thought it was fun, just throwing shit everywhere.
Yeah. It's all fun and games until you're the one getting beans thrown at you, and then you're like, dang, these kids, they throw pretty hard.
Yeah, the first time I did it, I was at a Japanese company, and then we had to pick them all up, and I'm like, that's no fun.
Didn't anybody bring a vacuum cleaner? So February the 2nd marks the day before the beginning of spring in the old lunisolar calendar. And the ceremony was held with Geisha and Maiko from the Ponto-cho and Miyagawa-cho entertainment districts appearing on the shrine's Buden stage in front of the main hall in gorgeous attire. I gotta say, Ponto-cho and Miyagawa-cho, if you go to Kyoto, two awesome places to visit. Great food, you'll see real life geishas. Please don't take photos of them, that's rude. But amazing. I mean, it really shows how old Japan and new Japan are coexisting in Kyoto.
There's just too many good places to go in Kyoto, I think.
Yeah, but Ponto-cho and Miyagawa-cho are my favorites.
After dedicating Japanese dances to the gods, they cheerfully threw bags of beans into the crowd. The many shrine visitors reached for the, quote, lucky beans, expressing wishes for good health.
I wonder if anybody fought over the lucky beans. Maybe
Possibly.
That's just an American thing.
It reminds me of the scene in Jingle All the Way when they have, they did a lottery and everyone's like fighting over the lottery balls to get the
or baseball games and people are trying to get like a home run ball.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
I got it.
In Japan, they're so nice about it.
Yeah. I mean, America.
Yeah.
What a place. Manaka Ishikawa, 20 years old, a university student who managed to get some of the lucky beans, said, quote, I came here not knowing that there was a Setsubun event, and it was my first time to see the Japanese dance. It surely will be a good memory for me of reaching the age of 20, of course, which is the traditional age of adulthood in Japan, this year.
On the afternoon of February 3rd, Geiko and Michael performed dances and threw beans. The event was canceled in 2021 and 2022 due to the coronavirus pandemic.
Bean throwing is obviously Japanese tradition, but one thing that's kind of unfortunate about this is nobody eats the beans.
They go to waste.
Yeah, they all get thrown away. I mean, obviously they get thrown on the ground, so.
Yeah, nobody's gonna eat that.
Yeah. I wish there was something they could do with the beans.
Maybe someone goes around and collects them all and they fire up and cook them over a fire.
Yeah.
For the bean smell.
Yeah, get that bean roasted barbecue.
Yeah.
What kind of rub did you use on this? It's a bean rub.
But this is great to see. Even though cases in Tokyo a couple weeks ago were spiking, people were freaking out. This is just more of a show that Japan is really kind of putting the pandemic behind them. They're downgrading the pandemic this April. It's really great to hear news like this. Finally, I think Japan was probably a year late compared to the States and other countries, but we're finally back to normalcy, I think.
Yeah, and I think that Japan, while a lot of observers said that it was too conservative, given the concentration of people in metropolitan areas and other factors, it does seem like the timing is right. You don't see any huge spikes in COVID cases, and people are taking it easy. People are still wearing masks. Some people say it's too much, but all in all, the Japanese approach to COVID seems to have turned out pretty good. And as we're sort of getting into this post-COVID mindset here in Japan, I'm optimistic that the economy is going to recover. There are going to be lots of positive things that happen this year in Japan. Meanwhile, a lot of people are predicting a recession in the United States. So we could see a huge shift in the current situation with this super cheap yen compared to this extremely high dollar.
Oh yeah. I hate to even bring it up because I have so many friends and family that are highly invested in the U.S. Stock market. But really, if we get into the economics of it, if America does in fact, see a crash like they did in 2008, the yen's gonna spike, and meaning like Japanese American companies like on the S&P, if they keep performing badly this year, the yen's probably just going to keep getting stronger and stronger. American fiscal policy too, they're trying not to raise the rates anymore because it's insane. Anyone in America with a credit card, I mean, it's totally nuts. Everyone's APR has gone up like 8-10%.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's
and
nuts.
On loans and stuff too. So trying to get a house right now, trying to get a credit card. Ugh, yeah.
Yeah, my home loan interest rate is 0.75%.
Only in Japan.
Woohoo! Yeah, I mean, I talk to my friends in America and they're like, what's going to happen with the real estate market? What's going to happen with the stock market? And I don't know anything about either of these things, but I also do this thing called read Twitter, and all of the smart people on Twitter are predicting a recession in May of this year. So if I had stocks or real estate in America that had appreciated greatly, I would sell all of it and buy yen.
You know, a lot of times, like during World War II, during whatever's happening, while it's happening, people don't necessarily say, oh, we're in World War II, we're in a recession. But America hit a technical recession last year, and then we're seeing massive layoffs in the tech sector. And not just the tech sector, lots of other companies are doing massive layoffs. I mean, it's a recession. You know, whatever way you want to spin it, that's up to you. But yeah, things are not great in the States. I would not put my money into any stocks right now, personally.
Yeah, it's a scary world out there. I think,
except for Microsoft.
Microsoft,
because they just acquired, I think, a good percentage of the new, Chat GPT and GPT-3.
Oh, no kidding.
And they're putting it in all their products.
Whoa.
So Bing, which is a joke and has sucked forever, Bing is going to have like the best and most popular AI. I saw on LinkedIn a couple demos of like some other Microsoft products, having like an AI assistant in everything.
That would be like the most amazing thing to happen in the past 20 years, Microsoft makes something that doesn't suck.
Well, to be fair, if you look at all the major tech companies, Microsoft for the past 10 years is the most diversified tech company, or has been for the past 10 years. Companies like Google are 90% ad revenue. So, I mean, Google's in deep shit right now because if they can't compete with, potentially a new search engine that's powered by GPT-3 and soon to be GPT-4, they're, in big trouble. But Microsoft, only has like 5% in search, 10% in, electronics. It's very, very, it's a greatly diversified company.
So as the Wu-Tang Clan's financial unit once said, diversify your bonds.
Exactly. For real. And I can't believe they even were able to buy and invest so much in OpenAI because it's very closed right now. They're only allowing certain people to come in. But I guess, Microsoft was the one that they trusted, and it'll be really interesting to see what happens going forward.
Yeah, that's actually really exciting news.
All right, and up next on Tokyo Panic Room, we're going to be talking about Philippines and Japan discuss deportation of ring of criminals involved in scams suspected of stealing over $46.6 million.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Tokyo Wave.
Tokyo Panic Room.
Kyoto News has recently reported how more than 6 billion yen, which is 46.6 million USD, has been defrauded in scams allegedly involving 4 Japanese nationals currently being held in the Philippines alongside accusations they are behind a series of robberies across Japan.
Tokyo and Manila are working out details for the deportation of all 4 suspects as early as the week of February 6th, but ongoing trials in the Philippines for 2 of them, Yuki Watanabe, 38 years old, and Tomonobu Kojima, 45 years old, has created uncertainty around whether they can all be deported at the same time.
The 4 suspects, including Kyoto Imamura and Toshiya Fujita, both 38 years old, likely include among them the person or persons thought to have masterminded several robberies in Japan under the pseudonyms Luffy, which comes from One Piece, right?
Is that where it comes from?
I believe.
Okay. It sounds like a drug name to me.
No, I think it's from an anime. And the other pseudonym is Jong Un. And apparently these robberies began last year.
So National Police Agency Commissioner General Yasuhiro Tsuyuki said in a press conference, "We are making preparations to dispatch investigators so we can arrest all 4 swiftly as soon as the arrangements are made."
With the Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. visiting Japan from February the 1st, Philippine Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla has expressed his hope that the matter will be resolved.
It's nice to have Jesus in Japan.
As the Justice Secretary, justice by Jesus.
However, the Philippine government has said it cannot deport individuals who are on trial.
So this is a very interesting topic. I watched a Japanese TV special on this whole scenario, and apparently these, they're doing like ore sagi, or these schemes where they call people on the phone and get them to send money on some false premise.
Right.
And so the funny thing is, funny in one sense and sad in another sense, is that while they're in the Filipino prisons, they are actually bribing the guards to let them basically do whatever they want and give them cell phones.
Oh my gosh. So
which enables them to keep on doing it.
To keep on scheming and managing whoever else is doing the scheming.
And so what they're doing in addition to that is they've actually made deals with locals to press charges against them on just like random stuff, like maybe he sexually abused me or he hit me or whatever, so that they will be on trial in the Philippines. Because while they're on trial in the Philippines, they cannot be extradited to Japan.
Wow. So best case scenario for them is to just continue to be on trial for
ever.
Yeah, forever. Wow.
And so they really thought this one through, actually.
Wow. I'm not sure if we should explain ore sagi to our listeners or not. Maybe some people don't know, but it's a really, similar to scams in the US where it's mostly, other countries calling American homes, trying to get elderly Americans to log into their bank. And then they figure out some way to make it seem like they overpaid. Then they get them to go to Target and get like a gift card or something. The scams here are usually done via wire transfers. And the reason it's called ore sagi is because ore, in Japanese means I, or it's me. So these guys will call elderly people and they'll say very little information, but they'll basically be pretending to be like an elderly woman's grandson. And usually the grandson, he says he's in trouble. He got into trouble at work. He owes the company $7,000, $10,000. Can you help me out? And a lot of elderly Japanese people actually have this cash stashed away in their house or, in the bank somewhere. So if you've ever tried to make a bank transfer in Japan, there's like a million screens that you have to go through because they're trying to make sure that you're not like being tricked by this scam, like, an elderly person that's being tricked, send $10,000 to someone else. And there's a lot of moving factors too in this scheme. Like usually like, once the elderly person will go like to a nearby bank, and then do the money handover, the person they hand the money to is not the person who is on the phone. So that person's like, I work with your son, so they've got like all these different people that they have to kind of line up. So there is quite a lot of management going on, I think. And, and the Japanese police are all over this as well. So they're constantly trying to like change their methods up a little bit. It's kind of a...
Yeah, it's like a cat and mouse game.
Yeah, it's cat and mouse with the police and these scams. And it just keeps getting, worse and worse here. So...
Well, it takes advantage of mainly young people who might be down on their luck and they need a job. And a lot of these sort of, peons in the scheme are recruited via Twitter or other online platforms. And, it's like easy money, apply here, call this number. And it's like some burner phone, right?
Yep.
And then, of course, they get people into these schemes. And it's like, oh, we just need to borrow your bank account. Or, oh, we just need you to pick up this money and take it here. And we'll give you 100,000 yen. And they're like, sweet.
Yeah, they're the guy in that part of the scheme that meets, the elderly person somewhere in Tokyo. Just, picks up the money from them, drops it off.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you hear about these stories of people who have been like basically fooled into taking this piece of luggage, like, oh, please just take this piece of luggage for me. I'll pay you $1,000 to, take this piece of luggage to Japan or whatever. And it turns out that it's full of drugs or something.
Yeah, you never want to do that. That's always, when you enter Japan, they ask you, are you taking the luggage that someone else asked you to bring? I guess it happens more than, we'd like to think. It's funny how open criminals are on Twitter. In America, like in New York City, there's a lot of drug dealers that post where and what they sold. Like they're making a track record, but they do it because they get more business that way. But if the cops ever catch on to them, then they're screwed. But it's a really easy way, just to make money for drug dealers.
It's crazy how the internet has provided us with so many benefits, but it's also provided criminals with so many new ways to, sell drugs or dupe people out of their money or get people to unwittingly participate in these scams.
Oh, for sure.
So, of course, the latest news on this case is that a court in Manila did not drop the charges against Kojima on February the 2nd, with his next court hearing now scheduled for February the 7th. Watanabe has been indicted on a charge of assault, which may or may not be true, and is being detained in an immigration facility in Manila following his arrest in April 2021.
Wow. I bet another thing on these guys' minds is how can we get to another country that doesn't have any kind of extradition control from Japan?
Yeah, and I mean, if they're paying off these guards to, get them cell phones and whatnot, I mean, if they're not under close watch by, really top level people who cannot be bought, I mean, who's to say they can't just plan a great escape? They've got a lot of money.
Yeah.
And they've got cool names.
They do. This would make a good video game. You have to do different things, and then the guards likeness of you changes, and then once the likeness gets up, you can slip out, talk to other people. Yeah.
You just gave someone a great game idea.
That would be a fun game. I play that on my cell phone.
It's like it's kind of like Grand Theft Auto, but different.
Yeah. You just it's a great escape kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I just obviously the police, the banks, and of course local public authorities have done so much to try and prevent these sort of scams from happening, but the scammers just keep on getting smarter and more cunning in their methods.
Yeah.
And so it's sad to see all of these people wasting their savings on these ridiculous scams, which benefit them absolutely nothing. And there's really no way of getting the money back. I mean, there's no scam insurance you can buy. At least I don't know about it.
Yeah.
So, once that money's gone, it's gone.
Are a lot of these, because a lot of, they get the elderly people to get $10,000, whatever, in cash, and they hand over the cash. Are they putting this into Japanese banks, or are they straight up going directly into foreign banks, or?
Oh, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if cryptocurrency is involved. I mean, I'm sure they're trying to get it overseas as quickly as possible or using Japanese bank accounts, but in other people's names. And, you know, they probably know every trick in the book to try and avoid that money being captured.
Right.
Because if they can hide it and they can basically just say, oh, I don't know about the money. I spent it all on gambling.
Yeah.
You know, they serve their whatever prison sentence and they come out. And if their boys haven't spent all the money they got on gambling, then they're filthy rich.
Yeah.
And sometimes prison sentences in Japan can be surprisingly short. So,
There's a famous Japanese movie, I think it's called Unagi, where the guy kills his wife and he only goes to jail for like 8 years.
Yeah, happens.
But he caught her cheating, like in the movie. I think it was either called Unagi or Eel. I don't remember the exact. It's a pretty famous movie. The Eel, or Unagi in Japanese. Yeah. Have you heard about this movie?
No, that sounds really gruesome.
It was pretty popular. There's a very it stars Koji Yakusho, who I'm sure pretty famous guy. Yeah. It was like his big first movie. But it was shocking to me that he only got the 8-year prison sentence for killing his wife. I'm like, damn, man. That's like not long at all.
Well, I mean, Japanese prison is pretty tough, but, you know, 8 years for murder?
Yeah.
You wouldn't see that in the United States. It'd be much, much stricter.
Oh, for sure.
I hear they serve miso soup 3 times a day in Japanese prison.
Hey, listeners, that's right. You listener right there.
Who do you think should be our next guest on Tokyo Wave? Let us know. Drop us a line on Twitter or at tokyowave.jp.
We hope you enjoyed Tokyo Wave.
If you haven't already, you can subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube.
Join us again next week on Tokyo Wave.